Are you ready to learn? Because super experience start with the best audio experience.
Hello everyone and welcome to our show. Today we discuss about mistakes that you can find in your way, because in my practice I always fail many times, and I have a lot of mistakes because without testing it's hard to know what actually works for me. And I'm excited to discuss this topic with Andrew Optimisey. How are you?
Anatoly, I don't believe that you've ever made any mistakes. We all do everything perfectly the first time, right?
Yeah. I think I remember one interesting quote from Elon Musk, and he said, if you don't make mistakes, you're not innovative enough, So yeah, mistakes are the part of the process, but if you make perfectly in the first stage, why not? Sure. Probably everything in this life. Before we start, just tell more about yourself, your experience, background, and why you decided to take this topic.
My name's Andrew. I run my own company called Optimisey. So Optimisey isn't really my surname. I know that's a big spoiler for loads of people because they really want it to be my surname. I have a far more complicated surname. But Andrew Optimisey is how I'm known by the people that have ever heard of me. If you haven't, I run Optimisey. I started running it about 5 years ago now. I was checking before we started chatting. So I launched my own business about 5 years ago, just before the whole pandemic thing kicked off. That wasn't in the business plan. That was exciting. But I've been doing SEO and digital marketing for about 20 years or so, probably longer than that, but I don't want to confess to how old I am.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I chose this topic is I spend a lot of my time auditing websites for clients and finding stuff wrong with them. And you start to see patterns. You start to see things that lots of people do wrong a lot of the time, maybe with some variances and stuff in there. But I thought if we could talk about it, then if we can help some people avoid making those mistakes in the first place, then that would be good for the internet, right?
Yeah, of course. But I think failing only brings a new experience, nothing else. If you fail, yeah, you can learn. But of course, it's much better if you learn other mistakes and don't make yours. So yeah, but I'm not sure that it's possible to avoid all mistakes, but you can learn and make less mistakes, fewer mistakes than previous.
Fewer mistakes is good, right? If you can avoid making the same mistakes over and over again, that would be good too.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start from creating content plan. Can you tell how to create content plan today? Because I often see when webmasters are chasing high volume, they don't spend time, to create content plan. They usually take existing keywords from SEMrush, Ahrefs, many other recognizable tools, and trying to compete with big websites that have authority, trust, high quality content, and they spent a few years without results, and they can come to other experts and ask why. I don't know what's going on. Can you tell what's going on?
Yeah, this is a classic one, right? So we've all seen this where everybody goes after the big head keywords because they have 50,000 searches a month, whatever it is, and that would be great if you could rank for those and rank number one. That would be super cool. Everybody would be happy. Your client would be happy. Your boss would be happy, whoever they were. But that's really hard. If you're coming from nowhere, like you say, if you're kind of trying to then go in there, compete against the Amazons and the Apples and the Nikes and all those people probably spend more in their sleep than you have in your entire marketing budget for the year. For most of my clients that I deal with anyway. So it's those kind of things where you see people get kind of lured in by the big numbers. Yes, I would like to rank for those things, but things you like to rank for and things you should rank for are very rarely the same things. So I think thinking about a content plan is it should tie back to your business plan, right? What are you good at? So if you're going to be competing with Amazon, what can you do that Amazon can't do? They're going to nail the quick delivery thing. If somebody wants it cheap and they want it fast, good luck competing with Amazon because they're going to blow you out of the sea. If somebody wants some more personal service, or they want some more experience, or they want to talk to Anatoly because he is the expert in this particular thing, I don't know, headphones or whatever it is, what can you give that your customers want that your competitors can't give? What's your unique selling point, the USP, right, that we always talk about in marketing terms? And that's the kind of stuff that then you should tie back to with your content plan. So you might know that you're a really good expert in headphones, But how do you persuade your customers you're an expert in headphones? How do you show that off? How do you persuade Google that you're an expert in headphones? What can you write about to demonstrate your expertise, to share that kind of knowledge, to position yourself as, hey, you know, this is my unique selling point. I know all about headphones. I've been dealing with them for the last 20 years. Here's my favorite ones. Here's my favorite ones under $200. Here's my favorite ones over $200. Here's my favorite ones if you want to do a podcast. Here's my favorite ones if you want to go on a really long transatlantic flight and you want comfort. All this kind of stuff that we're thinking about and trying to demonstrate our expertise. So that's the way that you should think about your content plan and match your content to those kind of positions and the things that you can show off. But yeah, very, very often we see people go, oh, like, you know, I'll do a SEMrush search or an Ahrefs search and I'll just pick the top 10 keywords with the most search volume and go for those. Yay. And then they fail and then people get cross and SEO doesn't work and people get fired and it's a bad situation.
Yeah. By the way, I understand these people who can tell that SEO doesn't work because the era of lazy SEOs is that.
I tried it for a week and SEO doesn't work, right? So
yeah, it takes time. It's not only about SEO. It matters to any social media, to any to create brand. Big brands. For example, when I read the book about Nike, and the founder spent like a few decades to get his brand recognition. He failed many times. He learned. He perseverance has helped him a lot, to create this brand. So it doesn't matter. It's not only about SEO. Please show me results on Instagram or LinkedIn for a few months. I want to see it. Yeah, it takes time. That's normal. That's part of the process. By the way, you mentioned about Amazon, many other recognizable brands, but I found one way how to compete with them, even two ways. The first way, when you can find lack of quality, not a lack of quality content, irrelevant content online. For example, if you search for your keywords and can see Amazon with irrelevant content, that means Google pushes this content because of authority, and you have a big chance to create really relevant content and get results. And the second way, not to compete with them, just forget, skip it, and find another places. Luckily, in SEO we have many things to do. Can you tell how to find the right keywords today? For example, if I use SEMrush, Ahrefs, I can see a list of keywords, a bunch of keywords, a lot of them, thousands of them. How to find my keywords and group them, filter out to filter out bad keywords or irrelevant keywords or with keyword difficulty, high keyword difficulty. What do you think?
So a really good way to do some of this, like particularly when you see those big, sexy, exciting terms, you go, ooh, 50,000 searches a month, 500,000 searches a month, is to go and look at the search results. It sounds really stupid and it's really obvious, but so many SEOs that I work with don't spend enough time on Google. They spend so much time in SEMrush and Ahrefs and all these tools and Screaming Frog, and go and look at the search results. That will tell you what Google is either thinking it should put in that place or is currently working really well. Like Google very rarely makes mistakes with, I know we're gonna have loads of people going, Google makes mistakes all the time, but Google usually gets this stuff kind of right. They have a very clear idea of what those customers are looking for. So you might see, so a good example was do you know what cricket is? So like the sport cricket, kind of like baseball. I can see we've got lots of people logging in from India. They'll be all over cricket. But I'm thinking as a Ukrainian sort of in the US, so cricket's kind of like baseball, British sport, very popular. Particularly in places like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, all big cricketing countries. I used to work for a cricket ground in the UK, like a big sports stadium, and we used to want to rank for things related to cricket. Makes sense. We would rank for lots of things relating to crickets, the insects, because people would want to buy crickets to feed to their pet snake, or they'd all these, and you get this kind of confusion. So if you think you want to rank for cricket and you go and look at the search results and you find that actually the things that are ranking at the top are all related to insects, and you don't sell insects, you're selling cricket, the sport, there's a bit of a mismatch there. So we've all done that kind of stuff, right? Where you think, oh, I know exactly what I want. I'm going to Google, I'm typing it in, and you get 8 billion search results and you go, ugh. And so you refine your search. You add more words, you add cricket, the sport, or you add shoes, you add red shoes, red men's shoes, size 8, red men's shoes, size 8 to play tennis. You add all these things to qualify. And that's your customers narrowing the search down for you, right? If you sell red tennis shoes, you don't want people that want red high-heeled shoes. Those people aren't going to buy your stuff. So ranking number 1 for red shoes might be great and might be very sexy, and your boss would be like, oh, we're ranking number 1 for this keyword with 100,000 search volume. This is great. but most of those customers don't want what you sell. So start to look at the search results and start to add those kind of refining characteristics. Like, it's like your customers pre-qualifying themselves, right? We all have this kind of sales process where you get a kind of warm lead and a qualified lead, and you get someone closer and closer to giving you their money. Like, Google does that stuff for you. If you can find those keywords that are already refining the search down to that really specific thing that you want, okay, they're not as exciting because they don't have billions and billions of search volume. But most of those people searching for that thing, like buy red tennis shoes, men's size, and you've got those are the people that you want. They're way more close to the till and giving you their money than all those other people that are just kind of kicking around the edges. So you can use that kind of stuff to, look at the search results, keyword difficulty and those kind of things. Again, these tools are all great, but there's nothing quite like the sort of human brain yet. I mean, I know AI is getting close, but use your brain a little bit as well. If its keyword difficulty is really low, maybe there's a reason for that too. Like, go and look at those search results. Think, I found a great opportunity. And you go and look at this search result, and the search results are nowhere near what you sell either. That's not a good target. Just because the keyword difficulty is low and the volume's high doesn't make it a good thing.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, I agree with that. You mentioned about unique selling proposition. Can you tell how to differentiate your products from competitors if we are talking about SEO? If you want to get SEO traffic, how to prioritize your efforts? Because I often see when webmasters want to cover a lot of keywords with limited resources. For example, they have budget like $2,000, and but they want to cover keywords with high keyword difficulty for 100 pages. It's a lot, Sometimes it doesn't make sense. Can you tell more about choosing priorities and highlighting your USP?
So there's a couple of questions there. So USP, I think, is then, so as an SEO, that's not really your job. I would say that isn't your job as an SEO. That's the business. If they don't know what their unique selling point is, you can kind of present that back to them as a question, saying, hey, these are the people I think you're competing with in the search results. They're the Amazons, the Nikes, the app, and maybe not even those, super mega companies, but compared to the small company that you're working with, if you've only got $2,000 budget, they were going to have competitors. Let's say it's a small bakery. There's going to be other bakeries in the town, right? So you can say, these are the companies that Google is putting you in the search results with currently below. And what do you have that they don't have? Like, imagine that you're not an SEO, you have somebody in the street come up to you and goes, hey, Anatoly, like, what's the best bakery around here? I want to get a nice cake for my girlfriend's birthday, whatever it is. What would you say? You'd say, go to these guys because fill in the blank. Because the service is really great, because the value is really good, because they always deliver it quickly, because, oh my God, their icing is the best. You've got to taste the icing. It's so good on their cake. Whatever it is, that's your SEO goodie stuff, right? Whatever those customers would say, I would recommend this bakery over this bakery because there's your USP. And if your customers are really like, we don't know what our USP is, that's not an SEO problem. That's a way bigger problem than anything else. You're not going to fix that with SEO. It's like, my house is falling down. Here's a screwdriver. Good luck. It's it's not an SEO problem. I can't remember what the other part of your question was. I knew there was two parts.
I mean, like, how to unite USP with priorities when we choose keywords.
Prioritization is another really. So if you've got a small budget, and again, I would try and tie it back to the business. So and again, talk to the businesses you're working. Me as an SEO consultant, it's not my business. I'm working with other people's companies, and they will say, we want more people through the door. We want more customers. We want more people in our restaurant. We want more bookings. We want more e-commerce sales, whatever it is. But they will have an idea of which customers are worth more than others. So it's like, if we sell one pair of socks, cool, that's kind of $5. But we also sell, I don't know, tennis lessons. I'm trying to think of terrible example. But every tennis lesson booking turns into 10 tennis lessons, which on average brings us about $500. So, okay, you might sell 10 more pairs of socks and make $50. You might sell 2 tennis lessons and make 1,000. That's your prioritization. So which of the customers do you want more of those? Like, if you could have your dream customer and, like, everything, again, it's asking the right questions. When you talk to your clients, they'll say, our customers are everyone. We want everyone. We want men and women, boys and girls, young and old, rich and poor. We want everyone. We don't care. But it's like they do care, really. If you can drill down into it and ask the right questions, it's like, they don't want people that are going to come in and look in the window and then leave with a $3 key ring. Those aren't the big value customers. They want the person that shows up in a brand new Tesla, has hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend, cleans the store out. Those are the customers they want. How do you get more of those? So then that's your prioritization part, where it's like, okay, right, these are the things that appeal to this customer. These are the things that appeal to this customer. Let's focus our $2,000 effort just on this area. If we can then bring in 10% more of just this small little area, but we can bring in 10% more of these kind of customers, the value to the business is way more. And that then gets you the buy-in, because then you get 2 more bookings in the tennis lessons. Suddenly you're an SEO genius. Suddenly the purse strings become a bit looser, and they go, hey, maybe you do know what you're talking about with this SEO stuff. Let's try this again. Here's another $2,000. Or maybe we'll make it $5,000 this time because everything went so well.
Yeah, love it. I can't avoid one question. Sorry for that. I can see some books on your background. Can you tell which books do you like more? And can you recommend some books?
Oh, this is just, so the books in the background. This is my wife is an author, so most of the books. So look, can I do a plug for her book? Here you go. Look.
Yeah.
So this is her book. So she wrote this book. This is my clever wife. So she's the brains in our house. So most of the books back here she wrote. So they're not SEO related.
Okay, got it.
But SEO books is a tricky one, because as soon as you write it down, it's out of date, right? Because it's changing all the time, and it's super quick. And by the time you write it down and then send it to the printers, and the printers print it, and you get it delivered, at best it's kind of 2-3 months out of date, usually more than that. But there are some really good ones. So actually, by coincidence, I do have one here. But so this is not in shot, but this one was a book by David Bain from Majestic. So SEO in 2022. The reason I've got that is because I'm in it. That's a shameless self-promotion. But he spoke to, I think, to 66 of the world's leading SEOs. So like super brainy people in there. Some of which you've had on your podcast. People like Alida and Barry Adams, and really really super brainy people from SEO, and me in there too. But so just some thinking about things for 2022. Like if you were going to make your SEO plan for 2022, what sort of things might you want to consider? That's a really good one.
Yeah, I usually read marketing books, just marketing books, because it's foundation. It doesn't matter it concerns SEO or not, because, for example, even some great books from 70s from Joe Sugarman, and he wrote about starting with first simple sentences. And I can see this issue, because when visitors open your website, users, they usually start reading, and when they get simple sentence, you can retain their attention, you can catch them, it's like hook. And this book was written 40 years ago, but today I often see these websites in the top 10 results with simple sentences. Even apple.com, if you open apple.com, you can see simple short sentences, nothing hard written, nothing special, but simplicity is key. What do you think about creating simple content? How do we know it's simple or not?
Everybody likes to think that marketing is like, this constantly evolving. I mean, I said it myself, like, as soon as you write it down about SEO, it's out of date. But the principles of marketing and the principles of doing good marketing, they're the same, right? You said that book from like the 1970s, it's like 50 years old. But like, have a good product, have good service, make it clear what you do and what you sell. Like, those kind of principles haven't changed. So yeah, simple content is a really important one, because it's this, like I can see again from like lots of people logging into this. You're speaking to me in your second language. We've got lots of people here who I suspect English isn't their first language. I struggle with English the majority of the time, even though it's my native language. If you overcomplicate things, you're going to lose people along the way, right? If you can make it really simple, like the classic marketing thing is you sell the sizzle, not the sausage. So when you're baking like a hot dog, nobody wants to buy a slice of pork in a bun. That's not exciting. But the smell and the thing of that thing being cooked, and like all these kind of things, the feeling you're going to get a nice warm feeling inside, and the taste of the mustard. That's the kind of stuff that gets people interested in your product, right? You sell the problem that you're solving. So it's not like, an iPod has, 660 gig space, whatever else it is. It's like, but you can have all your songs in one place and carry it around on your hip. Now iPods are kind of dead and defunct, but it's like, sell the problem that you're solving. And it's those kind of principles of, if you can't explain it to me like I'm 5, then it's too complicated. So people go, oh, we can't explain it because our product is so complicated, like, we can't possibly explain it to people really simply. You can, you just need to find a way to do that. It's like, and that's, I think, often quite underrated. Like copywriting, good copywriting, like Apple spend a whole lot of money on really good copywriters, like distilling that thing down to like sort of 3, 4, 5 really powerful words that convey that message. That's really hard. That's a really good, really important skill.
It's art. Yeah,
it really is.
It takes time to get this experience, to write a lot. Yeah, to write a lot and edit. When I check out some advertisement from BMW, Mercedes, many other recognizable brands, for example, if I see a new car, BMW, I can see a nice car, looks expensive, looks good, with happy, successful people. They're driving this car, and but when I check out some online shops, simple online shops, they usually set up all features, but I can see on BMW, on Mercedes-Benz, they usually share story, of successful people who can drive this car. Probably all other car brands have the same features, the same speed, but they highlight some other strong side, because 75% of all decisions are emotions, not not logic. When you read these features, if someone needs these features, they can open I don't know, other page, that explain details about new products. So yeah, I think simplicity is very important today.
But I think again, it's about knowing your audience, right? So I can't remember which car brand it was, but one of the car brands, they did this whole thing around, they understood that their market, the key people they needed to persuade, or like, so a good example I'll use for my personal life is around stuff that my kids do. Like, so I have clubs and activities that my children do, and they're not paying, I have to pay. So the person trying to persuade me to part with they're not talking to my 14-year-old, they're talking to me. So what do I want to know about it? I want to know, is it going to keep them healthy? Is it going to keep them safe? Is it going to be setting them up for their, life in future? Is it going to be, teaching them things? Is it going to be making them more employable in future? Those are the kind of things I want to hear. And, but they also need to have that kind of content on their site as well, because then when I go to my kid and I say, hey, I found this class for you to do at the weekends, my kid also wants to know, well, who's going to be there? What, is it going to be fun? How many of my friends can come? How long is it going to take? Those kind of things that the kids want to know. So you kind of need to think about who your audiences are. You need to address both. So that kind of, the car one is a good one, right? So cars are an emotional decision. Like, you don't spend £80,000 on a car when you could get one for 8,000. They're the same thing, right? It's four wheels and a roof. But you spend more because of emotional reasons, like because you want the brand and the prestige and the comfort and the safety for your kids, or whatever, all those things. But you also need to have all that technical information, right? That's got to be on your website. If, as a supercar nerd, you're going in there and you want to know what the brake horsepower is, and you want to know what tires it comes with fitted as standard, and you want to know all these things. If you don't have that information on your website, that's going to be a problem, because your competitors will have it. But it's those it's finding the right places for all your messages, right? If you open with the brake horsepower, probably not so cool. You need to have that information in the page, but lower down.
Exactly. Yeah, because when you submit this information in the first visible screen, it's not a good idea. But if you share this information on other parts where people are looking for this information, why not? Yeah, you can do it. Okay, let's get back to the main topic about mistakes. Can you tell which common mistakes webmasters usually do today?
Oh, I've got loads. So I wrote down a whole bunch before we started. So a good one I've seen recently is, and it's an important one because it's in reporting data. So I've been working a lot with e-commerce stores recently, and everybody has to do all these kind of things to make their e-commerce site super simple to use. So you have things that integration with PayPal, and you integrate with Stripe and Amazon Pay and Google Pay and all these things. So, it's super easy for people to part with their money, which is a really good idea. But then you have this break so lots of people at the moment using Google Analytics, people switching to GA4 as well. But they have an attribution issue. And there's a common situation I see lots and lots and lots of times where you'll go and look in their analytics, because they'll come to an SEO consultant like me and they'll say, hey, Andrew, we want to work with you. We need more traffic. And I'll go, great. How much of your revenue is organic traffic currently contributing to your site? And they'll go, oh, we don't know. We'll look in analytics. And analytics says 20%. I'm like, really? That sounds low. Okay, let's have a look. And you look at it and it says 20% for organics. Okay, so that's true. And you look and it says like 60, 70% referrals. Like, wow, you've got some really big referring. Like, who the heck are you getting these referrals from? Like, maybe they're running an affiliate thing or something. So you look into it a little bit more. You find in the referrals PayPal, Stripe, Amazon Pay, Google. You think, okay, well, so either you've got links on all those websites, in which case you need to tell me how you do that, because I would love to get a link from Google and from PayPal and all this, because I don't know how to do that. Or there's an attribution problem and something is broken in your analytics. And it's this, so I won't go into the whole, but it's this kind of where you send them off your website to PayPal for a little bit, and then they come back again. And then that comes back in again as a new user in analytics, and it wipes all the previous attribution. So even if they came in from your Twitter feed or from your LinkedIn post or YouTube or your podcast or whatever it was, then they would be in analytics as attributed to that channel. Then they actually buy something, they disappear off to PayPal, they come back again, and all that previous attribution thing is wiped out, and now they're from PayPal. So you can't attribute any of your traffic. So all this money that you're spending on SEO consultants or social media consultants or YouTube content and all this kind of stuff all gets lost, and everything is, suddenly PayPal is your biggest friend because it sends all your traffic. It's a messed up situation. So it's like, I likened this for a client the other day in terms of, you're messing up the attribution. So it's like working in a supermarket and all the staff only get paid on commission. So only the person at the checkout gets paid, right? Because they're the only person that makes money. But then what about the person that stacked the shelves and the person that, bought all the products and the person that, went to the farm to, talk to the farmer to get the milk? And, it's a mess. If your attribution is messed up, then you can't show how your efforts are working or not working. So you can't have that discussion with your colleague and say, hey, PPC is great, but it only brings in 10% of the revenue and spends 50% of the budget. SEO brings in 30% of the revenue and only gets 10% of the budget. Let's have a discussion about this. So those are the so that's a common one that I see a lot, like attribution stuff messed up in analytics, and it's dead simple to fix. So you can just you can Google it. It's really easy to fix. You can just you can add exclusions to your referrers in analytics, and you can exclude all those things out. So when Google Analytics sees a referrer from PayPal, it takes it off, and then you keep all your original attribution. So okay, well, that person that went off and they came back via PayPal, we're not going to count that bit. Originally, they came from Twitter, or originally they came from LinkedIn or whatever. Suddenly, LinkedIn's revenue contribution to your site goes through the roof, and you're like, LinkedIn is a really good channel for us. We didn't know that till now.
Nice. Love it. What about SEO mistakes? Can you share SEO mistakes that webmasters usually do?
Lots of people tend to like IP detection. So they have a big international website and they've got a version in Belgium and France and Canada and the UK and the US and all these things. And they're like, well, we don't want to show the US content to the UK audience. And how can we make this super simple for people? I know, we'll IP detect them. So as they come in, we'll detect their IP address and then we'll show them only the correct content based on their IP address. Seems super simple. Developers like it, marketers like it. The bosses like it because then, the lawyers like it because the lawyers get very anxious about people seeing the wrong content and, they might get information which they shouldn't get depending on the laws and various things for different territories. SEO wise, it can be a disaster if you get this wrong. So like a really big problem, because the majority of the time, Google only crawls from the US. So Googlebot, the little spider which goes out from Google's offices in California, almost always, they do throw in different countries and different user agents and stuff now and again, but almost always it's from the US. So if you're only showing your US content to US IP addresses, Googlebot's only ever going to see your US content. So your lovely content, which you've written in French and put on your Belgian site, and you've written in French and put on your France site, and you've written in French and put on your Canadian site, and you've got an English version also for the Canadian audience, Googlebot's not going to see any of that. So you're not going to rank. So it's a really big problem.
Terrible.
So there are ways around it. Again, so like using things like hreflang tags, you can start to communicate to Googlebot, like, okay, we do have a US version. We also have an English language version for the UK. We have an English language version for Australia. We have an English language version for Canada. We have a French language version for Canada. All those kind of things that you can use to then communicate to Googlebot what you're trying to do. Generally, IP detection, IP blocking is, my friend used the phrase, Dave Smart used the phrase foot gun. So it's a big gun pointed at your foot. Don't pull the trigger on that one. So you can do IP detection. So a good compromise that makes the developers happy and makes the marketers happy is you can present it to users, give them the choice. You can say, look, we think you're in Canada. Would you like to go to our Canada site? Here, just click this big Canada flag and we'll take you to the Canada site. Or if you want to choose for yourself, here's the list of the other sites. Let people choose. Because we've all done that as well, right? Where we've been on holiday in Spain, it IP detects us and will only show us content in Spanish. And you're thinking, I don't speak Spanish. Can I see the English site, please? And it's really hard to unpick it and to find the English site. So give users the option, let people control it. So, you can try and help them along the way. Say, hey, based on your IP address, we think you're in the US. Let us help you out. We'll make it super simple for you. Here's the US site. If you really want to go somewhere else, you can choose. We don't recommend it, but
Yeah, love it. Yeah, nice insights. Okay, let's talk about link building. Can you share mistakes with link building? Because I got the request a few days ago, and the webmaster asked me. I spent so much time on Fiverr trying to find good link builders. I ordered all possible gigs there, but I can't get results for 2 years. And I was thinking, 2 years you tried to get results from Fiverr? Why you didn't stop? Why you didn't read information? Can you tell how to write the right link building strategy? Because it's not only this request. I think many people are trying to get good links on Fiverr or similar platforms. I don't want to tell Fiverr is bad, because, for example, I usually order on Fiverr some design, they are great specialists, freelancers. I order some audio subtitles, and many similar things. So it's possible to find good freelancers there, but not about link building. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I don't want to, can I swear on this podcast? I'm not sure about that. I don't want to be mean to Fiverr. And like you say, then there are lots of good people that do sell their work through Fiverr. And I know particularly for, countries outside of the big sort of Western countries like the US and the UK, then they find selling their services through Fiverr is great for those kind of economies because depending on conversion rates between currencies, like getting paid 100, you wouldn't be able to get a good copywriter in the UK for £100, but £100 goes a lot further in other countries where a pound will buy a greater amount of their local currency. So you can get really talented people for a smaller budget on Fiverr, but it is a little bit like kind of shooting in the dark because there are so many bad people on Fiverr that are selling ropey services that will not do you any good at all. I guess with copywriting and captions, there's less risk. Like, if you got your captions back from the person on Fiverr and they were garbage, that was full of spelling mistakes and terrible, you just wouldn't put them anywhere, right? You'd just be, well, I'm not going to put that on the video. That was a waste of time. And you write that budget off. With link building, then you can do some real damage. Like, if you get bad links and you get spammy links and you get links from nefarious places that Google starts to think, this doesn't look quite right, you can get things like manual penalties where you'll get knocked out of the rankings or you'll just get, suppressed in the search results. And it can really break businesses. If you suddenly lost all your organic traffic overnight, for a lot of companies, that would be the difference between paying the bills and not paying the bills that month. So bad link building can be really quite harmful. So how to do good link building? This is really hard. Good link building is really hard. That if it's cheap, then it's generally not good, right? We're talking back to talking about cars, right? If the car's £8,000 and the car's £80,000, generally you would expect the £80,000 car to be better, right? It's going to have more comfortable seats. It's going to look better. It's going to be more prestigious. If you're paying 5, 10, 50, $100 for links, when other companies are charging hundreds and thousands, tens of thousands of pounds, there's probably a suggestion that those 5, 10, $50 links are probably not that great. There's no guarantee that the £10,000 links are any good. But if it's cheap, it's generally you get what you're paying, right? So I always try to talk to my clients in terms of quality, not quantity. Like it used to be back in the day, I'm old enough to remember in SEO things where if you and I had competing websites, if you had 100 links and I had 101, I win. I rank higher. Bad luck for you. You then go out and get 102. I get 105. We go back and forth, and Google soon cottoned onto that. And now, not all links are created equal. It's not like the Hobbit kind of thing, right? So links from good places, like, reputable places like CNN or MSNBC or the Times or the Telegraph or these big BBC, the big kind of publications in the world, they're worth a lot more than a link from my random SEO blog. That kind of makes sense. It's this kind of recommendation in the street, right? If you get a recommendation from your friend who reads about cars and knows about cars and is an authority on cars, and you'll say, hey, which car should I buy? Their recommendation is worth more than my 10-year-old daughter who doesn't care about cars, isn't interested in cars at all. She says, oh, I like the red car. I mean, it's not worth anything, is it? You don't know what that means. So it's the same kind of thing with links. Think about if you were a customer who was looking for your business, where would you want to see recommendations from that business? Where would you want to see them recommended? You'd want to see them recommended by, the local business bureau. You'd want to see them recommended by people in that local area. You want to see them recommended by, that kind of hobby blogger. There's all those sites that we've all seen, which, kind of spun up fan sites, but they're basically just big link building, usually PBNs, like private blog networks that somebody's built overnight to look authoritative and, these kind of things, but they're just doing it for the links. But there are, things like Wirecutter from the New York Times, that, those are the kind of like when you're thinking to buy like tech and you read the reviews on Wirecutter, they're good. They've gone really deep into it. They've reviewed this thing to like literally to breaking point with lots of their things. A review and a recommendation from them is good. And as a customer, I trust them. That's where Google's trying to get to, right? They're trying to get to the point where they can work out which are the trustworthy websites. So think about those kind of places where, you would want to get a recommendation from. And if you can get links for those, and you have to spend a bit more time and a bit more investment, you have to, do it. If it's easy, if you can just buy a link for $50, it's probably garbage. If you have to spend a bit more time and build a relationship with those people and say, hey, we're a local business in this area and we'd like to really work with you. How could we work with you? What kind of things could we work on together? What kind of expertise can you offer them? So a client I had sold wine. He sold really fancy, expensive wine, more than I could afford, but it was super fancy. But he was targeting a really specific group of people that are going to spend large amounts on bottles of wine, right? But he had all this super interesting information, like just in his head and in his database of which are the right times to buy this kind of wine. And when should you get French wines over Argentinian wines? And when should you get Italian wines over Chilean wines? All this information. And so then he worked with some kind of food blogs and said, okay, well, I can give you some recommendations around, if you're looking to buy a wine from this year, or you're looking to buy wine to go with this food, or you're looking for this kind of occasion. And then his expertise, then he's offering value to that other website, right? And for him, it was easy. It was like, he was just like, right, fine, give me a phone call, set me down for half an hour with these people. I'll give them all the information they need. They write the content, they attribute it to him. He gets a little link, Anatoly's wineblog.com, whatever it was. That's the link. Those are the kind of things. And it's painful and it takes a lot. Nobody wants to hear this because it's like, right, everybody wants to hear, where can I buy the right links that can just give me, for $500, I don't mind. If it's $600, I'll pay. And, they want the quick and easy. Everybody wants that, right? Sometimes you can, sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it takes a while for Google to catch up to you. Usually it doesn't. Usually it doesn't help that much long term. It's not a great long-term strategy. The good long-term strategy is time, effort, commitment. It's hard, right? It's like, like getting in shape. You want to be in Rocky Balboa shape, you got to take the time.
Yeah, you mentioned $50 for link. And I remember when someone shared with me that he paid $5 for 1 million links. I don't know how to create this report and check out all these million links, for $5, Yeah, I think it takes a lot more time to check out even 1,000 links from this report.
Yeah.
Then getting this
costs you more than
$5
to do the spam check, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I have the final question about learning SEO. For example, if you start today, according to your experience, how to learn SEO? Which way is better to do it? Because I often get this question. I want to jump on this field. What kind of future will be? Because someone is telling that SEO is dying. Someone tells it doesn't work. But we can see that SEO is growing according to many studies. From your experience, how to learn today in the correct way?
In the correct way, the way that I would recommend is for people to build a site and try and rank it. Sounds a really silly thing to do, but there are so many places where you can build a site for free. You can build a site for free on WordPress, on Wix, on Squarespace. You can get anything where you can kind of throw together enough content, pages, some pictures, some things, the words that you want to write about, and try and get that site to rank. And it can be about anything. People think, I've got to make a business. I've got to have a side hustle. Everybody's got to have a side hustle, or 15 side hustles, or cryptocurrency, or whatever. It can be about anything you want, whatever you're interested in. Whether that's soccer for the Americans, like cricket, knitting, cars, headphones, whatever it is that you feel like as a person, personally, you know about, whether it's your hobby, whatever that is, and try and write that site, spend some time on it, and try and get it to rank. And you'll learn really quickly that way, because you'll make loads of mistakes. Like we were talking right at the beginning about making mistakes. You'll mess things up, and you can try all those things because it's your hobby site. If you kill it and you tank it, it doesn't matter. If you do it with a client's website, that can be more of a problem. But if you buy those, a million links for $5 and it wipes you off the map, you haven't lost anything. It'll be kind of annoying, and you might need to go and start again with another hobby site. But those kind of things can be a really good way to learn. Like, see what ranks. When you write, all these, you can test out all the myths, right? You've got to write more than 300 words. Do you? Try and rank a page with 299. See if you can do it. It's like, try and, you have to write 2,000 words. You have to spill out your life story and, your mother's maiden name and which school you went to. Even if you're writing about like, apple pie recipes, everybody has to then include like their entire life. No, you don't. But it's like, but try it. All right. All these things that you read about in the SEO world, build your own website, build a playground, a sandbox, mess it up, break it on purpose, then see if you can fix it. All those things, you'll learn so much doing that way. That's what I would say is the right way to learn. And the other way then is there's loads and loads of free resources and stuff out there. So I've already mentioned her already, but Alida Solis has a website, learningseo.io. And she has just collated so many great free resources there, from like, slide decks from presentations to courses, excerpts from books. There's just and it's all broken down into little chapters. It can seem really overwhelming when you think I've got to learn SEO, and then you start learning about technical SEO and content SEO and schema, and it can just be like, oh, where do I even start? There's so much to learn. And Alida's site, learningseo.io, is really helpful, and it breaks it down into much more kind of manageable chunks where you think, okay, like just today I'm just going to start on content. I'm going to think like, how do I make a good content plan? What are the kind of things I should include? What are the things I shouldn't include? And it really breaks it down into little bite-sized pieces. Just get started. It's always one of the, it's the same thing. Like, I just made the joke about getting in Rocky Balboa shape, right? You're not going to be Rocky Balboa tomorrow, but start. You'll be better tomorrow than you were today. Then keep going, and then eventually you'll learn a lot more.
I couldn't agree more. It's the same like to read a book about how to play football, or soccer, doesn't matter. If you read this book, even 10 books, 100 books, if you don't play, you can't be successful. You need to play in the first stage and then to read books. For me, acting is more important than learning. Learning is important. You need to know the way, but it's more about to know what to do, just to get the way and open this door and and come in. Okay, Andrew, it's a big pleasure to get in my show, to learn from you. Tell our audience how they can reach out to you, learn more about you, follow you.
I spend too much time on Twitter, but I'm generally Optimisey everywhere. So I know we've got lots of people from so Optimisey is spelled the English way, no Z's. So OPTIMISEY. But Optimisey on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm all over all sorts of places. And Optimisey.com, funnily enough, is my website. So those are the sorts of places you can find me.
Okay, guys, you can find all these links in the description below. Listen us on Apple, Google, Spotify. Thanks again for your time. A big pleasure. Love all your valuable insights. I'll send this video to my team. They need to learn as well, some insights, because it's more important. We are students. I'm a student.
Me too.
Learning.
Still learning.
Still learning. Okay, guys, love you. See you.
Thanks for having me. Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.